Folks, just a couple more minutes. I think Siraj is having some technical difficulties.
Hello.
Hey, Siraj.
Am I back?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Hey, Naveed, I can barely hear you. Can you speak a little bit louder because I'm having some trouble with my
Yeah,
headset.
I can hear you fine, man.
All right. So without any further delay, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I'm sorry about that. I'm just having some issues with my headset. So I was just switching from one another. Can you all see my screen? Hello?
It's coming
Can
up.
somebody
It's coming up.
see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. And so Naveed, can you? Okay. So recording is already
Yeah,
started. So that's
recording has started.
okay, and just wanted to let you know I still barely hear you, and this could be my headphone issues, but hopefully other people can hear you fine. All right, good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us for Azure Power Lunch today. And our today's topic is app service environment, especially with the more secure way of utilizing app service environment using ILB. And we'll go over that here shortly. But before I go that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about, of course, these are not the right slides. I am sorry. Uh, oh, there you go. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Siraj Mohammed, and I am an Azure Application Development TSP based out of Austin, Texas. So let's quickly cover some of the updates that we had announced this week. And as you all know, that Microsoft Connect is going on, Azure Connect is going on, and there are several announcements. So some of the most popular one that I saw are we have announced Azure Reserve Instance, so it's in GA. So if you all are interested in saving a lot of money, you can use Azure Reserve VM instances. You can actually save approximately 72% of cost with the if you know that you know how your workloads are going to run. You can definitely save some money here. We have also announced Visual Studio connected environment with Kubernetes. So if you're creating or Dockerizing an app, you can develop it with Visual Studio and directly debug it in actually your Kubernetes environment. It just stands up a separate Kubernetes pod for you where you can directly debug your app. And then another one is Microsoft joined MariaDB Foundation as platinum sponsor. So along with managed MySQL and managed Postgres, you might also see MariaDB coming to Azure pretty soon. All right, so these were some of the updates. For more updates, actually, you can go to this Microsoft Updates website, and you can get all these updates. Perfect. So our today's topic is app service environment. So we have been recently working with several customers, and they are planning to use app services to develop their web apps or or their function apps or mobile apps. And one of the big concerns that a lot of customers had is our app services have a public endpoint. So but they wanted to create a web app for their internal users or internal customers, and they don't want a public endpoint. So this was the one concern. The second concern was, hey, this app is kind of on the public cloud, and if I want to connect it back to my on-prem network and access my on-prem network resources or the resources in my Azure VNet, that's not possible because the public endpoint, it has to come through the public internet, and we don't want that. We want to have our SQL server or our database server on-prem, and we want our app to talk back to my database server. So these were a couple of concerns that lots of customers had. So in this scenario, we will be addressing both the concerns. So the first, let me talk about first concern, that my app is not connected to my VNet, and we want to talk back to SQL Server. So we have announced we had something called ASE, App Service Environment V1, and now recently, a couple months ago, we have announced something called ASE V2. So this is the version 2 of App Service Environment, much more simpler to use and provision than App Service Environment V1. And once you set up the App Service Environment V2, you can actually bind your app service to your VNet. So your app service will actually live inside your VNet, and it will be provisioned on the VMs inside your virtual network. If your VNet is connected through site-to-site or express out connectivity to your on-prem virtual network, or it is using VNet peering with other VNets inside your subscription, then your app service can directly communicate to any other services that those are living inside your VNets and they're not public facing. So this is a great advantage of using app service environment. So this solves our first challenge, or the first question. Now the second challenge was, hey, but the app service has a public endpoint, and because this is a multi-tenant public service, it has a public endpoint. So how do we? And we don't want our app to be exposed on internet. So how can we just create app in our app service environment which is exposed only to our internal audience, or internal users? So a great way to achieve this is to deploy ILB inside your app service environment. So, and this is also called ILB-ACE or ILB-ASE. And when you configure app service environment, you can specify that you want to configure an internal app service environment. And as when you do that, Azure, our app service will spin up a Azure internal load balancer for you. It will create network security groups and all the infrastructure needed in the background. Now, once you do that, then you will just get an internal IP address and for your app, which cannot be accessed through any public internet. Another scenario then comes that, hey, okay, all right, so we have this app internal facing, it's all good. Our users can access to this app, but not any external users can come from internet. But what if we want this app to be accessed through internet? However, any traffic to the app should come through a firewall. So then you can deploy an application gateway or any other firewall in your VNet, and that firewall can point to your ILB endpoint, and then your applications can be accessed from outside your network or from public internet. So in today's session, I'm going to show you that quickly. So I think let me switch to my demo environment. So one challenge, so if you're using ASE v2 external, where you have an external endpoint, the one thing is so if you're using any of your CI/CD system like VSTS or GitHub, you can directly deploy from your VSTS to GitHub. And because it has two app service environment, because it has a public endpoint. So the one gotcha that you have to be aware with ASE, ILB-ACE is that you cannot deploy directly from your CI/CD pipeline because there is no public endpoint. So to work around that, you have to deploy a build slave or a build server inside your VNet, which has internal access to the Kudu side and to your app service. And I'll show you those steps also, how you can achieve that. All right, let me go to my Azure portal. So this is, I'm on my Azure portal, and to create a ASE, the first thing I can do is I can create ASE, and then don't pick V1, just pick ASE. Here you can specify the name of your app service environment, and this name is this will be for internal use, and you will see that. And then you can specify a resource group, and in your virtual network, when you select a virtual network, this is the place where you specify whether it's going to be internal ASE or external ASE. So if I choose internal ASE, it is asking for my domain. So remember, this is internal, and the domain that you specify here will not be resolved from a public internet. So this is going to be an internal domain. So I can say contoso.com, doesn't matter. There is no verification for this domain. When user coming from internal network, they should be able to resolve to this domain. So I can specify a domain and I can create a new VNet. Now, if you have an existing VNet, you can also leverage your existing VNet. The only thing you have to be worried about is specify at least a /25 subnet so that it has more than 128 IP addresses. So if you ever scale out your ASE, it can accommodate those addresses. Now, you can go to the pricing tier, and in the pricing tier, you can pick, so this right now here, it provides you all the pricing details. So you don't pick pricing tier here, you pick the pricing tier when you are setting up an app service plan. So you select this, you create your ASE. So at this point, your app service environment is created. Now the next thing, I'm not going to click create here because it can take somewhere between 1 to 2 hours that we have recently experienced. So I'm not going to create it, but I have already app service environment created that I will be using. So the next thing to deploy app, you will create, you can go to web and mobile and you can create a web app. Now when you create a web app, I can just say test web app, it will not be available. So it's a 23. And here, I can pick up an app service plan. So in my app service plan, I can create a new app service plan. And in this drop down, you will see if you have specified, if you have already created the ASE, you will see the ASE, your ASE will be listed. So I can pick up my app service environment from here. And here I can pick up my pricing tier. So when you're going to pick up the pricing tier, you need to pick up the isolated. And there is another way to create this whole workflow, which I'm not going through for the clarity. But actually, if you don't have an existing ASE, you can come to web app, and from here you can create a new ASE and ASP both. But I already have a one which I selected here, and I can create a pricing tier. And I click create, and that will create me a web application, right? So now my web app domain is going to change here. So let me select ISP. So see that? So now the domain, your app name is test web23.contoso.com, and this contoso.com is the domain that we specified at the time of creating of my ASE. Now, again, remember, this is not a publicly accessible domain. This is only internally accessible domain. So once I have created my app service, I should be able to go and in my resource group, and let me show you what setup I have here. So perfect. So these are all my resources, and I have few app services here that I have created, and I have my ASE. So let me quickly go to my app service environment, and I can show you the configuration here. So once my ASE is created, the one important thing to remember is to note down this IP address, because we will be using this ASE's ILB IP address for configuring this app to be used from our internal or external environments. So this is my IP address for ILB. Make a note of it. And then you can actually you can protect your ACE, ILB ACE with a certificate if you want to. However, in my scenario, this is totally internal. And to give access to this app from outside Vault, I will be using Application Gateway. So I will provide my SSL certificate at Application Gateway level. So I will not be using ILB certificates here. Now, let me go here on the apps. Here you can see I have already set up these 3 apps, and in two different app service plans, and both these app service plans are in same app service environment. So this is perfect. So now let me go back to my apps. So if I go to my app, which I created in this app service plan, one thing I can see here is my app has a custom domain setting. So if I go to my custom domain, so when I created the sirajapp.contoso.com, this is it actually adds that to the custom domain for my app here. So now my app is created on the internal AAC. I cannot access my app from my public internet. So how can I access my app? Is I have deployed a VM in my I have deployed a virtual machine in my VNet, in the same VNet where I have my AAC. And now if I go from this VNet, I should be able to access sirajapp.contoso.com. Now I'll show you the whole workflow, but I can access it here because I have added these entry points in my host file. So you can see sirajapp.contoso.com is added to my pointing to my ILB ILB IP address. Now let's say if I want to make this site accessible from public internet, how can I do this? This is deployed internally. My users can use it. To make it accessible from public network or internet, I need to deploy application gateway. And I wanted to quickly show you the configuration for that. So this is my application gateway. I've deployed the application gateway, and under my backend pool setting, I have provided the IP address for my same ILB. So this is the same IP address as you saw here. So now my application gateway is pointing to my ILB-ACE, so it should be able to serve the apps that are in my that are hosted in my AAC. The second thing you have to do is you have to actually go to your listener and you have to add a listener. So I was trying to create a multi-site scenario. So if you must have noticed that I had 3 apps in my ACE. ILB ACE, so I wanted to add all the 3 apps to my same application gateway load balancer. So I have added here as my listener to clouddev.club, and these are the 3 domains actually. So I have added these domains here, and in my DNS, I have provided the IP address of my application gateway. So I am not really sure if I can quickly show you that. If it can. So I bought a couple of domains from namecheap.com, and if I don't remember, I don't think so I remember my username, but yeah, here I pointed out my A record and CNAME to my application gateway IP address. And now if I go here and if I say clouddev.club, you can see it's my site is coming. Now this site is coming through application gateway, so I cannot directly access the internal domain. So it's pretty secure. And instead of application gateway, I can use any other third-party firewalls if I want to. And this is my second web app, which is different than the first web app. And this configuration is possible to host multiple apps in same AAC, and you can use the application gateway to actually create multiple host listeners that can point to your sites. The one thing you have to do is when you're adding a host name, there is no verification for this host name. So like if you know that if you're just creating a app service web app, there is a process for validating your host name, but in this case, there is no process. So what you have to do is you have to go on your app service and just confirm your domain name here. So in your custom domain on your app service, you will have to add these host names. So as you can see, I have added the cloud dev, dev, and XYZ. So I was just testing it for another subdomain. So if you have like a subdomain that you want to point to the same thing, just your subdomain can also work with the similar configuration. All right, so now this is the whole flow of how will you set up an app service in your ILB and how will you front it with a firewall. This was that flow. Now I also talk about CI/CD deployment, and there is a caveat. So how you can actually deploy to this. So let me show you really quickly something here. So this is my clouddev.club. If I go to about, you see the text as your application old description page. Okay, so I am on my Visual Studio running locally, and I'm just connected to this app. And instead of old description, let me change simply to new description. And after changing it to new description, I can save it, and I can actually.
Siraj, can you show the configuration for the WAF, web
Okay,
application file?
give me,
There's a question on the slide on the IAM window.
so let me connect it to my VSTS, and I'll show you this pipeline. And I will do a sync. Actually, I can do a sync, and I can do a. Okay, so this is thinking. So can you show the WAF config as well? Yes. All right, so I will just show it to you. So this synchronization is successful. Now, if I go to my VSTS, you will see I can go to my build definition, and so it should have triggered my build. I have, okay, new one or something. Save, and test. Not really sure why is it not connecting. Okay, so let's go and show you my WAF configuration. So I am in my resource group, and in my resource group, this is my application gateway, and this is my web application firewall. So I have not made any changes here, and you can see I have my firewall is enabled, and the detection, of course, all these protection like DDoS, SQL scripting, it's all enabled. Is this what you wanted to see? Hope so. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead and look at the build definition. So to create my build agent, I have actually deployed. You can go to VSTS, your VSTS account, and the first thing you have to do is you have to create a path token. And to do that, you can go here in security. So now this is the process that you will have to follow in order to add a build agent or deploy a build agent in your virtual machine. So you can add a path token here, and you can say, hey, I just want agent pool to be read and manage, and this will create a path token for you. And in my case, I already have a path token created. Now, once you're done with that, then you can go to actually agent queue, and you can download the agent on your VM. Once your agent is downloaded on your VM, it will give you, you can run the agent in the PowerShell, and you can connect it to your VSTS. Once your agent is connected to VSTS, Now you should be able to see your agent in your agent pool. So as you can see that my VM is in my agent pool now. Then I can set up my build and release definitions. So if I go to my build definition, let me show you here. My build. I am running my build on hosted agent because I don't have to worry about running my build on my agent in my VM, but I want my actually release to be run on my build slave. So it's running on my hosted agent. It is pushing the artifacts to a drop location. And when I go to my release definition, in my release definition, I am just picking up I'm just picking up that artifact from the drop folder, and I am saying use my agent from the default queue, and this agent is actually deployed in my virtual network. So it is picking up my agent from the default queue instead of hosted agent. And one thing you have to do here to make this work, actually, you will have to specify a parameter that's allow untrusted. So if you all remember, we have not set up any SSL on our ASE, on our ILB. So that's why you have to specify allow untrusted, otherwise your build will fail.
Siraj,
Build will not fail, actually your deploy will fail.
we are
So
right
once you
on.
do that, you can, hello? Yes.
Hi, Siraj. We are right on time, so if you may want to quickly wrap up.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think with that, we are done with the whole configuration. If you all have any other questions that I think Naveed has been answering the question in the chat window. But if you all have anything else, you can unmute and ask questions.
Hey, this is Srini here. Is there a way to build, assuming that you can deploy the JSON template, right? So is there a way to check in the parameter file and use the parameter file that was checked in to do the builds?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can definitely do that. And I'm sorry, I'm just having a little bit issue with my headset. I can't hear loud. But yeah, I mean, that will be like a usual build process. So there's nothing different in VSTS. So if you have any kind of parameter file that you want to utilize, you can definitely use it in the build process.
Are you trying to say that we can create a JSON template in the build process itself?
So is this a question to me or Srini?
To you, sir. Suraj.
Yeah. So I mean, you can, if you have a JSON template, can you tell me like what is the objective? What are you trying to achieve here?
We're trying to achieve release control even in our infrastructure as a code. So every service we deploy in Azure,
right?
We're trying to go through CI/CD for that as well.
Right.
So the question here is that the template wouldn't change, only the parameters will change, right? So
yes.
I'm assuming that whenever we say we want to create a new website, a database, or a VM, or even AC environment, so somebody will check in a new parameter file, and I want to use that new parameter file that was checked in to trigger the build process.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so to answer that question, yes, I mean that is possible with the VSTS tools, because
I mean, you can go to your build definition or you can go to your release definition depending on whatever state you are. If that you want to include that for the build, and there are a ton of different tasks that you can add. Even you can add the PowerShell scripts here, so you can read the file, you can pass the parameters, you can do all kind of stuff in your build phase. So my objective here to show this CI/CD pipeline was basically to show you, especially the release pipeline, because in my release pipeline, I am using the build agent that is deployed on my virtual machine running in my virtual network of ASC. So this is, for this demonstration purpose, I have shown you the CI/CD pipeline, but there is a ton of other stuff that can be done through the SDN.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can basically cover it in a later session, specifically focus on, and if you can send us question, we can take it offline as well.
Yeah.
Sure,
Absolutely.
I will send that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, folks? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Suraj, you want to wrap up?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining the call, and we will be, as usual, uploading this recording to our channel line, and also the slide deck will also be available on channel line. Thanks all. You all have a wonderful Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raj.